Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Liu. I am a mental fitness coach. Thank you so much for joining me on this day 3 of this video series where I talk to you about mental fitness. In day 1, I told you about what mental fitness is and why it's important. And in day 2, yesterday, I told you about how to measure mental fitness. Now, today, I'd like to get into the 3 core muscles of mental fitness. Yesterday, I talked about the concept of the saboteur and the sage, which are the two parts of us. And the saboteur being where all the negative emotions come from, and the sage being where all the positive emotions come from. Now, let's talk a little bit more about both of these concepts. Now, based on the research from Shirzad Chamine in his book Positive Intelligence, he found that the saboteur and the sage sit in very different parts of our brain. And by the way, all the concepts that I'm talking about here is very much based on science. So Shirzad and his team, they did research on over 500,000 participants from around the world. And he's also using the theories from a few different disciplines, such as positive psychology, cognitive psychology, neuroscience, and performance science. And so everything that we're talking about is very much scientifically based. And another thing that they did in their research is to do something called factor analysis, which is basically boiling down complex topics down to a few very simple concepts of what is the root cause of all these complex theories that are out there. And so they, based on factor analysis, they boiled down mental fitness down to 3 core muscles. And here we're first talking about the saboteur and the sage. And so the saboteur, based on the research, sits in the left side of our brain, and it's also part of the brainstem and the limbic system. And the sage, however, on the other hand, sits in part of our right brain, and it's part of the middle prefrontal cortex, as well as the empathy circuitry. And based on the research, as well as factor analysis, Shirzad Chamine found that there aren't like thousands of saboteurs or hundreds of sage powers, but really there are only 10 saboteurs that most of us have, and only 5 sage powers. And we're going to get into these in a lot more detail in future videos. But for now, just know that they're part of different parts of the brain. And we also talked about that the saboteur is the part that generates all the negative emotions. So when you hear that, you might think, oh, saboteur is bad and sage is good. Well, the saboteur, when you say it's bad, and we can get into a bit more of that, isn't necessarily bad though, because they exist for a reason. They're there to protect you. You know, when we say it's part of the limbic system, so what does that do? It's really part of the survival brain. So the saboteurs are there to keep you safe, to protect you from dangers. So really the intention that the saboteurs have is actually good. You know, it thinks by doing certain things, by generating these negative emotions, it could actually help you to survive, to keep you safe. Right? So the saboteurs, they motivate you through these negative emotions, such as fear, anger, shame, guilt, insecurity. You know, many of these emotions could actually propel us to do what we believe that we need to do. And actually, a lot of people achieve a lot of success from using their saboteurs to motivate them. Whereas the sage, it motivates you through very different ways, which is through positive emotions, such as empathy, love, passion, purpose, curiosity, right? And so the saboteurs, so while they can motivate you through these negative emotions and you may achieve certain level of success, but you're not going to have sustained happiness. Whereas the sage, when they motivate you through positive emotions, you can achieve your highest level of success and sustained happiness. And so that's what I want to talk to you about in these 3-week video series is how can you utilize more of your sage and tune down your saboteurs so that you can achieve that highest level of success, whether it's in your work, your business, your relationships, your health, your well-being, and experience sustained happiness. So I'll leave it at this for today. And tomorrow I'll get into the third core muscle of mental fitness. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And I really hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks so much. Bye for now.